kitchen, Cooking with Sally J. Today we're going to be making a squash casserole. Squash, the smart thing to do is let your husband cut it up for you, and that's what I did, so we're not going to go through that process. I could do it, I just hate doing it. So Bruce always peels the potatoes because, like I told you in another video, he thinks I take too much off. And he always does the squash for me because he's stronger, I'll admit it, okay? And the other part is I'm just a little bit lazy in that department. But when you do cut up your squash, you just want it, to cook up great so you can mash it really quick. So I just wanted to show you the squash. I'm going to put it on the stove right now and get that cooking. And just tell you the ingredients. The main ingredients on the recipe that was given to me. And now you're going to have to excuse me a minute. I got to stop my microwave from beeping. Okay. And I might want to put the right burner on. Yeah, not very smart. The recipe was given to me by a very precious friend of mine, Mary Amazini. And I'll tell you what, when she had us over for the Canadian Thanksgiving, I really just thought it was squash, you know, mashed up and put in a dish. And when I took my first bite, I was like, oh my word. I mean, it just with flavor. And to tell you the truth, I think hers tasted better than mine. So I'm going to do a little bit different today than her recipe because I think we each have to make it our own. Hers was absolutely wonderful, and I wish I could make mine taste just like hers, but it wasn't quite there. So today I'm going to do a couple of different things. So her original recipe calls for 3 cups of cooked squash. I got to slow my speech down because even me can't keep up with my own mouth. Okay, so 3 cups of cooked squash, which we'll show you later. 1 box of stove top stuffing, but you can also use the bell stuffing. I used it the last time, and honestly, I don't think I liked it as well. I usually like the bell stuffing better and everything. Either or, but this seemed to have a little bit more flavor to it. This is, Mary's used both. But part of Mary's original recipe is the squash, this, an onion, sour cream, cream of chicken soup, and a half a cup of butter. That's part of her recipe. My recipe, I'm going to use all those things, but when I do my onion, and I'm going to do some celery up in my butter also. And we'll be back in a few minutes to do all. So now what we're doing, I was going to prepare some stuff ahead of time and realized I was kind of doing it wrong. So another good friend of mine, Esther Roach, had requested me to make this casserole so she could see it being done. So the actual recipe from my friend Mary was to grate your onions and a carrot. Well, I did not. I cut up my onion because I was going to saute it, and then I'm like, oh, I do want it a little bit smaller. So I just took my food chopper and I'm just chopping it up. Now I don't even know why I had this fry pan up. So I'm just going to put those right in my pan. There's a half a cup of butter in my pan melting along with that, and that will help saute the onions. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do probably 1 celery stick. Yeah, probably 1 because it's only 3 cups of I just want it for flavor. It's only 3 cups of squash, so you don't want to overload with celery and things like that. And I'm just going to chop that right up in there. I'm not going to grate it in there. now I need to grate a carrot, which I did get a carrot. There it is. There it is. I'll get my grater out. Cut off your ends. And I have no patience for the little end of the grater. So if you do, great. I don't. So I'm just using the big end. You do want to be careful of your fingers. I usually end up. So far I'm doing good. Okay, so I don't want to get down so far that I cut myself. So that's a pretty good amount of carrot. And I'm just going to throw that right in with my butter and my onion. We're just going to saute that for a couple of minutes. I don't know that you really need to see that. I might bring the camera over, I might not, I don't know. So anyway, while that's doing that, once I hear it sizzling, I know I'm just going to drain the squash. And I'm going to put it in a bowl. Okay. So, need this stuff. Okay, so for the dish that you're going to need, it doesn't matter if you want it square or if you want it round. I just brought them both out to show you. It doesn't matter as long as it can go in the oven and it needs to be that size. Which this will hold 3 cups of what we're going to do. So I'm going to use this today because I like my dish. I don't dislike this one, but I like this one better. We're going to drain our squash. So the other thing I'm going to do with my squash is I am going to prepare it as if I was not putting nothing in it. I'm going to stir it and mix it up. Oh, got butter right here. As if I was just going to put it on the table this way. I think that also adds flavor. So I'm going to use about a half a stick of margarine. And I'm going to gracefully put it in my bowl. Yeah, water all over my floor. And I'm going to get my beater. When I watch my videos of me, I like to laugh at myself because I have these movements with my head and I'm like, why am I moving my head like I have a bunch of hair? I don't have a bunch of hair, but I usually feel like I have an itch or something and I'm trying to move it out of the way. So people, I really don't have a twitch problem or some type of issue. My brain is telling me something's going on and I think if I move my head, I'm going to fix it. Whatever. Alright, so I'm just going to chop this butter right up in here. And I'm just going to put a little bit of salt and pepper. And so you would do that to your liking. Okay? And then I'm just going to mix it. The recipe says to add the seasoning packet to that, as well as the box of stuffing. it all together really good so everything's wet. Wet and incorporated. Now it's not going to be like when you make stuffing because we're not adding the water to it. You know, you're not going to prepare it like you do on the box. It's just going to be your cup of butter. I gotta find my recipe. I don't think it's a cup of butter. Half a cup of butter. But you don't add whatever it says on the box. Do not follow the box, just follow my recipe. Okay, so then you're going to add to this, you know what I need to do? I need to measure out 3 cups of squash because that's another difference. There's been different times I think that I have put in too much squash or I've had too little, and that affects the flavor too. So I want to make sure it's exactly 3 cups. We will do that. Typically 1 squash is about that. It's about 3 cups. But last time I had more squash and more than 3 cups. So the rest of it I will set aside to eat later. It worked out that I had this other bowl. Honestly, for the flavor, you do not want to be eyeballing. It's not hard, but okay. So now I'm going to put my 3 cups back into my dish. To do, we're gonna add to this. Oh, I really hate it. Every time I do a video, there we go. Never have my scissors handy or nothing. Okay, so we're gonna put in 1 can of cream and chicken soup. So a full can of it. We're not going to put it in that. Okay, so we're going to put it in the squash. So, beep beep, I made a little mistake. Do not put it in there. Put it in your squash. So you're going to add 1 can of chicken soup to your squash. The reason I remembered is because you're going to use a portion of that crumble to go on top of your squash. Okay, now you're going to need 1 cup of sour cream. I know one thing, I know how to dirty dishes. Usually a half of a container. But where I was lacking the flavor Mary had, I just really wanted to make sure I did everything just like she did. So 1 cup of sour cream. We're going to mix that. sprinkle on the top. Okay, so I'm just going to incorporate that a little bit. That's what it looks like. And we're going to pour it into our dish. And I am going to spray the dish just to give it a little running out of room. Don't know if you noticed, my husband built me a little counter. It looks better than the one I had. So I'm grateful for that. Just not big enough. Sometimes. Okay, so I am going to spray my pan just to help it not stick. Now, where everything is pre-cooked, this only goes into the oven for 25 to 30 minutes. So you can plan that according to your meal. You know, this type of dish, you would typically, if it was a dessert or something, they would say 9 pieces. I always cut them a little smaller than that. But, you know, if you're doing Weight Watchers for points or something, this really isn't bad. I've still got to figure it all out, but like one of those servings would be a cup. So a typical serving is a half a cup. Okay, so you see that I have that all in the dish, how pretty it is. And we're just going to take the rest of this crumble and just put it on the top. Yeah, I use more than half in it, and because you don't need a whole half of that mixture for the top. That covered the top nicely. Just bring it over to you so you can see it better. We're going to put it in the oven at 350 for 25 minutes, which is actually going to work for me today because that'll be our dinner time. Okay, so I've already taken it out of the oven. Getting ready to put it on the table. I don't drop it. This is what it looks like. So if you've enjoyed this segment of Cooking with Sally J, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit subscribe. And you'll also find me on Cooking with Sally J on my Facebook page, where the video and the complete recipe is there. I hope you try it, and I hope you enjoy it. And Esther, I hope the directions are good and you didn't get too much of a belly laugh over stuff.